It was the kind of scene nightmares are made of. Samantha pushed open her bedroom door that quiet Sunday afternoon, only to find her husband entangled in the arms of her own father. Half-dressed, breathless, unapologetic. What happened next would shock an entire town, shatter a family forever, and leave two men lying cold on the dining room floor, poisoned by the one woman they both betrayed. Welcome to True Crime Channel, your portal into the most chilling true crime cases, unsolved mysteries, and the darkest corners of criminal history. If you are new here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. In today's case, we dig deep into the facts, uncover shocking twists, and explore the theories that keep investigators and the world on edge. Stay back and enjoy. From the outside, Samantha and Jordan Whitmore were the dream couple everyone envied. He, a successful architect with a dazzling smile. She, a talented artist whose paintings graced local galleries. Together, they were perfection embodied, a picture of love, devotion, and happiness. Or so it seemed. Thanksgiving that year should have been a celebration of survival and family. Samantha's mother had passed just a month before, after a brutal battle with cancer. The pain was still raw, the wound still bleeding, but Samantha had insisted on hosting the Thanksgiving meal to honor her late mother's spirit of gratitude and forgiveness. What she didn't know was that betrayal had already hollowed out the heart of her family. It started as a quiet suspicion. Jordan grew distant, secretive. He spent longer evenings working late, and weekends helping her father, Charles Morrison, fix things around the house. At first, Samantha felt comforted, grateful that Jordan remained close to her aging father. After all, hadn't Charles been devastated by his wife's death? Wasn't it good that Jordan was stepping in? But grief has a strange way of pulling back veils we refuse to lift ourselves. That Sunday morning, the town held a special Thanksgiving service in memory of Samantha's mother. The pews were packed. Everyone came to pay respects. Everyone except Jordan. He claimed a sudden migraine and promised to join them later. Samantha, worried, returned home earlier than planned, thinking she would find him resting. What she found instead shattered her world. The bedroom door slightly ajar. The low sound of laughter. Male laughter, the heavy breathing, and then Jordan, her husband, entangled in a way that stripped every shred of innocence from the room, with none other than her grieving, widowed father. For a moment, time froze. Samantha didn't scream. She didn't cry. She simply stood there, absorbing the grotesque betrayal in front of her. The man she vowed to love forever and the father who was supposed to protect her heart. Neither man offered excuses. Neither man apologized. It was as if her discovery didn't even warrant their shame. Something inside Samantha snapped in that moment, a cold, clear fracture. By the time Samantha returned to the church, she was calm. Even smiled when friends hugged her. Even sang the hymns as if nothing had happened. All the while, a dark plan fermented inside her like spoiled wine. Lunch was to be special. She cooked Jordan and Charles's favorite, honey-glazed ham, roasted vegetables, and Samantha's signature cranberry sauce. She set the table with her mother's heirloom china and folded the napkins just the way her mother had taught her. And into the food she introduced a deadly ingredient, powdered aconite, known as the Queen of Poisons, discreetly sourced weeks earlier when Samantha had been painting wildflowers for a local botanical project. A macabre insurance policy, purchased back when Jordan's infidelities were only suspected, never imagined to culminate like this. When they sat down at the table, laughter echoed once again. Jordan raised a glass to new beginnings. Charles blessed the food. And Samantha, sitting across from them, smiled sweetly as they devoured their final meal. An hour later, both men lay convulsing on the floor, foaming at the mouth, their faces twisted in agony. Paramedics arrived too late. The initial investigation screamed murder. Suspicion fell squarely on Samantha. After all, she had prepared the meal. But no one could find concrete evidence. It was only when investigators dug deeper into Jordan's personal life that the picture began to sharpen. Text messages, secret accounts, explicit photos. And then, Charles's disturbing past began to unravel. Since his wife's death over 20 years ago, Charles's relationships had been exclusively and secretly with younger men, many of whom reported unsettling experiences of manipulation and coercion. The community that once revered Charles as a grieving, dignified widower now whispered a different word behind closed doors: predator. It became clear that Jordan was not just a willing participant, but perhaps another one of Charles's long line of conquests. Investigators realized Samantha hadn't just been betrayed. She had been living inside a house of hidden abuse for years, her own family a rotting carcass under a beautiful facade. In court, Samantha's defense painted a harrowing portrait of emotional devastation, manipulation, and systemic betrayal. The jury deliberated for just 4 hours. Their verdict? Involuntary manslaughter. Time served under psychiatric care. Samantha walked free, a woman destroyed but not defeated. The public, once aghast, now whispered of her bravery. Some even called her a hero. Justice, it seemed, had taken an unconventional form. Betrayal rarely comes from enemies. It is those closest to us, those entrusted with our hearts, who wield the most devastating daggers. Love is sacred. Family is sacred. But when those bonds are corrupted, when they rot from within, sometimes survival demands unthinkable choices. After the trial, Samantha disappeared from public view. She changed her name, moved 2 states away, and rented a small cottage by a misty lake. She spent her days painting landscapes, trying to find peace, and her nights battling nightmares of that terrible Thanksgiving. But peace is a fragile thing, and Samantha's past had teeth. The letter arrived on a rainy afternoon, tucked inside her mailbox without a stamp. Just a single line penned in jagged handwriting. You think it's over, but you have no idea what's coming next. At first, Samantha thought it was a cruel prank. Maybe a sick reminder from someone who remembered the case. But when the second letter arrived, this time inside her home, placed neatly on her kitchen counter, Samantha realized something horrifying. Someone knew exactly where she was. The second letter wasn't just a threat. It came with photographs, grainy images of her walking to the grocery store, picking up her mail, painting on her porch. She was being watched. And then there were the calls. Every night, around 3 a.m., the phone would ring once, twice, and then fall silent. No voice, no messages, just breathing, slow, heavy breathing. It was a game. Someone wanted her afraid, and it was working. Detective Raymond Shaw had led the original investigation into the deaths of Jordan and Charles. He had seen enough darkness in his career to know when evil had unfinished business. When Samantha called him, frantic and sobbing, he didn't hesitate. He drove 300 miles to her new town, found her half mad with fear, and promised to find whoever was stalking her. But what they uncovered next neither of them could have expected. The handwriting on the letters matched old records from an unlikely source. Charles Morrison's estranged brother, Victor Morrison. Victor had been banished from the family decades ago after allegations of abuse and fraud surfaced. But it seemed he had never truly gone away, only waited in the shadows, nursing old grudges. And now, with his brother dead and Samantha seen as the cause, Victor had found a new target for his twisted rage. Detective Shaw tracked Victor to a seedy motel just 20 miles from Samantha's cottage. When they raided the room, they found walls covered in photos of Samantha, notes detailing her daily routines, and something even more chilling: a detailed plan for revenge. Victor hadn't just been watching Samantha. He had been planning to reenact Thanksgiving Day. Only this time she would be the one dying over a poisoned meal. Victor's motive was a sick combination of loyalty to his brother's memory and his own monstrous need for power and control. He blamed Samantha for everything: the death of his brother, the destruction of the family's honor, and his own miserable obscurity. On a cold December night, Victor broke into Samantha's cottage, armed, prepared, ready to finish what he believed she had started. But Samantha wasn't the same broken woman who had poisoned her family out of desperation. This time she was waiting, with Detective Shaw hidden nearby, gun drawn. The moment Victor lunged toward her with a knife, Shaw burst from the shadows. A struggle. A shot fired. Victor collapsed onto the floor, clutching his chest. Poetic justice delivered by the very family he sought to destroy. Victor survived just long enough to confess everything. The stalking. The threats. The plan to kill Samantha. There would be no trial this time. Victor Morrison died 3 days later in a hospital bed. Alone, angry, and forgotten. For the second time, Samantha buried the monster that haunted her bloodline. But this time she didn't mourn. She painted. She lived. And she forgave, not for them but for herself. The leather diary trembled in Samantha's hands. It smelled faintly of lavender, her mother's favorite scent. On the first page, under her mother's neat handwriting, were 6 chilling words. "Forgive me. I tried to protect you." The diary wasn't a simple collection of memories. It was a confession. A key to a maze of lies buried so deep that not even death had erased them. As Samantha flipped through the brittle pages, a horrifying story unfolded. Charles Morrison, her beloved father, had not been the man he pretended to be. He had a secret life long before her mother's death. A life filled with manipulation, hidden affairs, and unspeakable acts. But the true shock? Samantha's mother, Eliza, had known everything. She had discovered Charles's dark desires when Samantha was just a toddler. Eliza had planned to leave, divorce him, take Samantha far away. But Charles had threatened her, blackmailed her with secrets from her own past, secrets that could destroy her. Out of fear, Eliza stayed, raising Samantha inside a carefully built illusion of a perfect family. She endured humiliation. She endured betrayal. All to keep Samantha safe. But there was one truth even Eliza could not bear to write plainly. Instead, she hinted at it through riddles, poems scattered across the pages. The blood that runs in your veins was cursed before you were born. You are the price I paid for my silence. One cryptic passage made Samantha's stomach turn cold. He was never supposed to be your father. Haunted by the diary's words, Samantha demanded answers. She hired a private investigator to dig into old medical records, birth certificates, anything that could explain what her mother had hidden. What the investigator found shattered the last pieces of Samantha's identity. Charles Morrison wasn't just a monster. He wasn't even Samantha's biological father. Her true father was Victor Morrison, Charles's older brother. A man with a criminal past so disturbing, so vile, that even their corrupt family had cast him out. Eliza had fallen victim to him when she was young and vulnerable, long before Charles saved her by marrying her under the guise of honor. Samantha had been the living evidence of a family's original sin, a child born from violence, hidden behind a lie of respectability. All her life, she had loved a man who wasn't truly her father. All her life, she had been lied to about who she was. Victor's obsession with Samantha wasn't just vengeance for Charles's death. It had been twisted personal. In his demented mind, Samantha was his creation, something he believed he owned. And when she destroyed Charles, the brother who had stolen his family, Victor had felt entitled to destroy her in return. It was never about loyalty to Charles. It was about reclaiming control over the one thing he saw as his possession, Samantha. The chilling realization hit her like a slap to the face. I was never free. I was always his target. But Samantha was not the same girl she had been before Thanksgiving Day. She was a woman forged in betrayal, in death, in survival. Instead of succumbing to despair, Samantha made a decision. She would end the Morrison curse once and for all. She sold the cottage, burned every trace of her former life, and began to work with survivors of family abuse, using her story, not as a tale of tragedy, but as a weapon against monsters who hid behind family ties. She became a voice for those who couldn't speak. She turned her brokenness into power. And for the first time in her life, Samantha belonged to no one but herself. Our past does not define us. Our blood does not bind us. What defines us is what we choose to do with the pain we inherit. We are not our parents' sins. We are not prisoners of our bloodline. We are the architects of our own destiny. The rose sat innocently against the dark sheets, its delicate petals hiding a chilling truth. Edward had stayed in the shadows for decades, funding the Morrison family's worst crimes, ensuring no one escaped their grip. And now, with Victor and Charles dead, Isabella imprisoned, Edward was furious. Samantha had destroyed everything he built, and he wanted her dead. The last battle didn't happen in a courtroom. It didn't happen in a farmhouse or a dark alley. It happened in the place Samantha least expected, her childhood home. One night, Samantha received an anonymous message. "If you want to end this, meet me where it all began." Armed with nothing but a voice recorder and a steel heart, Samantha walked through the shattered doors of the Morrison estate. There, sitting in the living room where she once opened birthday presents and sang Christmas carols, was Edward Morrison. An old man now, but no less dangerous. He smiled as she entered, a smile that dripped with arrogance. "You're stronger than I expected," he said. "But strength is useless without loyalty." Samantha stood her ground. "I'm not loyal to monsters," she replied coldly. Edward leaned forward, his voice low and deadly. "Everyone is loyal to something, Samantha. Fear, power, blood." He offered her a choice. Walk away and live, if she promised to disappear forever. Or stay and be hunted for the rest of her life. Samantha chose neither. Without hesitation, she played the recording device hidden in her jacket, capturing Edward's confession of past crimes, threats, and the web of corruption he still controlled. Within minutes, federal agents stormed the estate. Edward was dragged out screaming, threatening vengeance. But it was over. Finally, it was over. Months passed. The Morrison estate was demolished. The family's money was seized. Their crimes exposed to the world. Samantha legally reclaimed her true identity, Samantha Moore. She stood before her mother Lillian's grave, newly found, a tiny headstone in a forgotten cemetery, and placed a single white rose. Tears streamed down her face, but they were not tears of sorrow. They were tears of liberation. She whispered, "I found the truth, Mama. They can't hurt us anymore." Justice isn't just about punishing the guilty. It's about setting the innocent free. The past can shape us, but it doesn't have to trap us. No matter how deep the lies run, no matter how tangled the bloodlines, truth is stronger than fear. And freedom, true freedom, is earned, not given.